Hey everybody, welcome to the Faith and Family Podcast. I'm excited today. I've got Todd Turner joining with us today, and we're going to talk about the Batman, not just
Batman
with a "the" in front of it. And I don't plan to be holding back with spoilers, so spoilers.
That's
ahead.
right.
Yeah,
it's right.
Yeah.
Don't jump in here if you don't want to know everything.
All the opinions and all the things. And Todd, you and I haven't even actually talked about this yet beforehand. We literally just jumped right in here, and I'm hoping you don't hurt my feelings.
Oh, I'm not going to hurt your feelings.
Because it's one of those things like being a DC fan is about like being a Christian in terms of like it's the standard thing for everybody just to poop in your cornflakes about stuff.
I got you. I understand.
So it's it's one of the reasons I haven't actually posted a review up till this point, just because like, half of my feed is, I would say this has been the most positive response for a DC movie in a minute, by and large. But I've still got like there was a con promoter that runs a show, and I'll leave out where, in case he listens to this. There's a con promoter that was like, this movie was trash. It was completely stupid and blah, blah, blah. He's like, don't waste your time. And then the next day he asked me to do his show, and I'm like, I'll get back to you.
I'm telling you. Yeah. And I have a lot to say about all the Batman movies in general. So, I mean, not just this one, but full disclosure, even though the first comic book I ever got was a Teen Titans issue 1, I was a Marvel guy. And I took a siesta from comics from 95, maybe 98 to about 2017. So there's a lot of like the Snyder and Tom King. I literally came into Batman at the end of Tom King's run. Like the third issue I bought of Batman was The Death of Alfred. So that tells you where I came back into Batman.
Yeah.
But I've been a Marvel fan forever, but I've seen every Batman movie in the theater except for the Adam West, but I do own it on VHS, if that tells you anything.
Did you see the Batman the Animated Series movie in theaters?
No, see, I didn't. So I take it back. I've not seen the animated.
It's close.
I didn't even know it was a thing. But
apparently, me and Mark Hamill were the only people that saw it in theaters.
Gotcha.
Because he said it took him, I want to say, 19 years for that movie to turn a profit.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh, and the cartoon's so darn good.
And that's the thing. The movie was straight out of the cartoon, and it was their first big theatrical release after the '89 Batman, after those movies.
After those movies, yeah,
and nothing. So it was a huge failure financially.
Man.
But it was great. It was the Mask of the Phantasm. So
oh yeah. Well, I have gone back to see it. I watched it on HBO Max. Thank you, HBO Max executives who are listening in.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and it's fantastic. But anyway, yeah, I just put it out there. Can we talk about Batman? I mean, how do you want to do this, Hector? You lead the way. I'll follow your lead.
You go. So I'd just love to hear your thoughts. Let's go. We can.
I went and saw this by myself. I literally texted out, anybody want to see Batman at 2:00? But I was sitting in the theater and it was 1:55 or something like that.
I saw that post. Yeah.
And my wife is a therapist. And she's like, I said, honey, I don't expect you to go see this because I know, it's going to be a dark and, if you're a therapist all day long, you don't want to go to a movie and see something where you just think about it forever. So I was like, I went by myself. And I just loved this movie. Absolutely loved it. My daughter and I, we recorded our episode of our podcast on Sunday. And when I told her I was going to talk with you, and she's like, darn it, Hector, we've got to get our podcast up first. But her garage band has failed. So she can't even edit our podcast right now. So she's like, no, but basically I felt it was like a 3-act movie. And like the final act took place after he rips up the carpet. And up until that point, I felt like it was a straight detective movie and thought, honestly, this could have been any movie, any detective movie with just different characters. But with it being the Batman and the Riddler, it just meant so much more. I mean, Paul Dano's Riddler, I don't care what anybody says. I know, okay, there's no way in the world that anybody can wear a daggone suit with the question marks on it in a movie based in today. It just won't work. You know, I get everybody upset. Oh, it's not the Riddler. Listen, man, he's the Riddler 100%. So I went in and saw this movie by myself, set by myself. There were people on either sides. There was one part in the movie where it was the, I don't know. Anyway, there was like a little box. It was a clear box. And I looked at it. I said, it's a maze. And the guy, then immediately they go, it's a maze. And the guy next to me goes, you seen this movie? I'm like, no, man, it's the first time I've ever seen it. But I don't know.
I did that with the thumb drive thing.
Oh, that was great.
I called that before it was like when it said the drive, and I remember that his thumb had been cut off, and I'm like, this dude's thumb's gonna be attached to a jump drive, and I just said that my whole family was sitting right there because my family knows the deal. It's like for most superhero movies, we're all going in like in like unison, and I knew this one was gonna be dark, but I was like, I called the thumb drive, and honestly, the little jokes like that. Not that I don't need my Batman to be Lego Batman as far as humor.
Yeah, exactly.
But
there's a place for Lego Batman.
There's a place for Lego Batman. And the reality is just his delivery with the thumb drive thing. Like I felt like looking at his face, he was trying not to chuckle.
Oh, really? I didn't pay attention.
Like in his macabre sense that he's like, this is funny. But and then when Gordon had to use it, I thought that was great too. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, So I'm a guy who literally stood in line around the movie theater to see the 1989 Batman movie twice. And I brought them up. If anybody's visual, this is the newspaper from Lexington, Kentucky and Cincinnati, the weekend premiere of Batman. So, and Roger Ebert hated it. Villainous script sends Batman down to defeat. So, you know, I've seen them all, and I think they all have a different place in the time in which they're made. And so there's people who hate on all the different Batman movies, and I'm just here to say, you know, no, they're all great in their own way. Even the Batfleck. If I know people don't like Ben Affleck as Batman, but I'll defend it. When I first saw it, I didn't much care for it, but once I went back and watched the director's cut, it makes a whole lot more sense.
Oh, absolutely.
So this movie, it starts out, you know, it felt like a noir detective, a lot like I did listen to the Pull List podcast, and you talked about it. And literally my daughter said this. She goes, it felt a lot like the Long Halloween, like it could have been. And then she's like, oh, if they do this if they bring this all out and it becomes like a Long Halloween movie. I said, honey, it already exists in animated form, you know, on HBO.
It's not great, but it's there. Like,
no, yeah. I mean, it's
good,
not great, but
it's good, but yeah.
Yeah. Nowhere near as good as the comic book. But, so I love the fact that he kept journals. It's a little bit creepy.
That gave me strong Rorschach vibes though. Cause like
just the way even the movie started.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, like when he started talking, I literally in my head heard Rorschach's journal.
Yeah,
like I'm like
Jackie, or was it? What's his name?
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, like you, yeah, human bean juice. You know, it's bean juice.
I'll whisper down. No.
Yes, I heard that. But I thought Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman was phenomenal. The whole interaction with her being the daughter of Carmine Falcone, I was okay with it.
That's in a book.
Is it?
And it's part of the Long Halloween series. So if it's not, which is because, you know, that's where he got the 3 scratches on his face. It's wherever that story plays out. So it's either in Dark Victory or Catwoman Win in Rome.
Gotcha.
Which is all in the same bubble.
Okay.
But that's the thing, that they played it out that way with that. But no, I thought that was great, because for the longest time, the name Falcone was never even spoken in Batman movies. And then between Batman Begins and this, I thought it was kind of iconic that they gave us basically a villain from each era, because you got Carmine Falcone from the Batman Begins era. You got Riddler from, the
OG.
From like Batman Forever style layer and the original.
Yeah, but for all those who haven't seen the movie, surely you've seen it if you're going to listen to this. This Riddler ain't nothing like Jim Carrey.
But did you watch The Office at all?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Forgive me, Paul Dano, and your excellent portrayal of the Riddler. Once he's out of costume though, and he's just he reminds me of Plop from like season 8 and 9 of The Office.
See, I quit. After Michael left, I quit. Sorry, dropped off. But I know who you're talking about. I know the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still he was he
was extraordinary. But like in my mind, like I just kept mentally seeing Plop like delivering these lines and stuff. And I'm like, nice. No, I think it really hit me when they pressed his face against the counter in the coffee shop.
Oh,
I was like, this looks like Plop.
Yeah, because his glasses were a little bit off kilter and everything. And
I'll say this, man, finish The Office.
All right. But then it's all on like flipping Paramount or something, which I don't have. It's like the only Peacock. Streaming. Yeah, I don't have it.
But it's only $5 for a month. You can knock 2 seasons out.
Listen, I'm already having to knock out 3 comic books every week I go to get them down. My comic book pool list is so large, I cannot afford another $5 a month.
No, I feel you. But I'm just saying, like season 8 and 9 aren't the strongest, but season 9 has some of the best Office moments.
All right.
I'll try to get it in. It ends well.
Gotcha.
But Paul Dano was great as a Riddler, and it had that first 2/3 really did feel like a strong detective novel. Like I read a lot of Alex Cross, James Patterson's detective that was played by like Morgan Freeman and Tyler Perry, respectively. This could have easily been an Alex Cross novel, like, and I think people that enjoy detective stuff will enjoy this really well. But keep going. What else you have on it?
I just thought, it does change. The tone of the movie does change after, with the big explosion. I mean, you get some Batman fight stuff, whatever, but I thought this was the most honest portrayal. It seemed very realistic, honestly. This seems like this could happen. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the Batman stuff is like, oh man, that's just pretty far-fetched. We're going to make a chemical and put it in soap and deodorant. And when you use soap, deodorant, and hairspray, you have the Joker toxin or whatever, that's never going to happen. But the portrayal of the dark web, I mean, that's just flat out creepy, because there are people out there like that, because the Riddler gets help basically from all these people on the dark web. Let's get the ammunition here. You can get these masks here, and let's make sure we use this type of rifle and everything. And it felt like, well, I mean, that's pretty creepy. It could actually happen. I still thought that the new mayor was going to be bad some way. I don't know why. I thought, oh, she's in on it, but I guess she's not. I mean, who knows?
Spoilers. Who knows? I don't even know. But I mean, no. I mean, that's the thing. Gotham mayors have to have some level of potential corruption, even if it's not present, or they don't feel realistic. I mean, if you go back to the Dark Knight trilogy, the mayor there, wasn't corrupt, but he looked like he could be shady.
Yeah, absolutely.
And fun fact, did you ever there's a on the Tick TV show, the first live action Tick show,
the one with Patrick Warburton?
Yeah. The mayor from the Dark Knight trilogy plays Batman well.
Oh, nice.
And so that's
nice.
So that was one.
I'll have to go back and watch that. That's on Prime, I think.
When I saw him as the mayor for Gotham, I'm like, Batman well.
That's hilarious. I literally, up until the third act, the Riddler character could have been the Punisher. I mean, really, if you think about it, he's knocking off all the people that he knocked off. I mean, granted, we do have a little bit of a moral code we should live by, but by the standards, they were bad people.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Punisher wouldn't think a second, he's a Marvel anti-hero, but basically up until he really goes psychotic and destroys and then kills innocent people up until that point. So my favorite part of the whole entire movie was the conversation between Batman and Paul Dano's character, the Riddler, in the asylum. That was just fantastic. Go ahead, Hector.
I was just gonna say there's like when Batman walked out of the apartment and he's like, this could be the end of me or the end of Batman or whatever, and he walked out, and and then that portrayal of him just sitting there listening to him as he's like, Bruce Wayne, like that,
and he looks up at the camera because he knows it's all being recorded, that somebody's watching it,
and he's just like legitimately starting to tear up a little bit, like. And I know that there's criticism about Batman being too emo with this, but like I thought that was like. And then when he's like, he's the only one we didn't get, I was just like, and like the visible.
Oh no, he knows. He knows. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. If you one of my favorite stories, and I know we've mentioned before, but like Hush, there's a very iconic Arkham across the table conversation between Batman and the Riddler there, and I got very strong vibes of
Hush,
that interaction at the end of Batman 619. And it's one of those things because he said he's telling him he's letting him know that he knows who he is, and the Riddler is just like, well, aren't you worried I'm going to tell anybody? And he's like, no, because what's a riddle worth if everyone knows the answer?
Oh, pretty good.
And he's just like, and that was just kind of like the end of it. It's just like, the conversation was over. He's just like, and he basically said, if you tell what you know, it stops being valuable.
Yes.
But so
riddle me this. What is more valuable the less you have of it? A friend.
Yeah.
Oh man, the end.
So did you I don't know if you've looked it up, or did you recognize who was portraying the Joker there?
It's the dude from the Eternals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm a little hard on that movie, but his character was one of the only ones I liked.
Yeah.
In that movie.
Yeah.
And it felt to me like it was very, nothing to knock Jared Leto's Joker. Sorry, I'm not a big Jared Leto's Joker fan. But it felt like they gave a little bit of space, to Heath Ledger's Joker, with his one little line says, Gotham loves a comeback story. I was like, oh yes. Yeah. So I don't know.
So I think
go ahead, Hector. No, what do you think? What are your feelings on it?
I've looked back, especially, and it's easy for me to catalog my thoughts on these films because usually I end up writing about them, and I'll go back later and read what I wrote. And I was like, oh, there's some rose-colored glasses on this one. Like, because I just, in the new book, there's going to be a chapter on like the Snyder cut of the Justice League experience, and going back and reading my first version of a devotional on like the Justice League version. I'm like, I had way less criticism verbalized than I actually felt. And I as a DC fan, I know that I can look and see that some of these things aren't amazing, but I hold to them just because I'm grateful. I really do hold on to Kevin Smith's
philosophy. Exactly. 100%. I agree with that.
That, what I grew up in it, it wasn't very long into my life that, you couldn't watch superhero movies on a regular basis. And now we can literally check off when this one happens that we've got another one waiting.
Absolutely.
And so I'm going to be grateful every time I get to watch a superhero movie in theaters and enjoy it, or watching it at home. So I'm always grateful for that. So, but I personally loved it. I was really satisfied with storytelling overall. I thought the cinematography was possibly the best cinematography in a DC movie, flat out, but definitely the best cinematography in a Batman movie.
Hey, listen though, does it ever not rain in Gotham? That's my only beef, dude. It's got to stop raining eventually. No wonder they got flood walls.
Yeah, for real. And that's honestly a big point, because like no other Gotham story has really pointed out the potential flooding issues there as much as this, because if you read books like The Gates of Gotham, and if you even just look at the map, this is a series of connected islands. And the flooding, I thought it was a smart move to play. But I really enjoyed, I'll say this, that the way that Pattinson portrayed the intimidation and the fear aspects of Batman, that one line of they think I'm in the shadows, I am the shadows. I was like, I like that. That was really good. But he just slowly comes strolling out of the shadows, and well done. I was like,
well, and even Zoe Kravitz going, come on, vengeance.
That was great. And I really enjoyed how they portrayed that stuff to that level of making the darkness, because I thought one of the most effective elements of the cinematography and the storytelling of it was as they were doing that little intro at the beginning where they were showing like 3 or 4 different crimes happening at the same time, and they kept cutting to the shadows, and it was almost like daring us as the audience to guess which one he was going to come out of,
right?
And almost had a horror movie level of intimidation at that point. And I just thought that was really, really effective with that. But then honestly, when at the end, when he lights up the flare, and from that point on, everything's just brighter. I just really, really good visual storytelling with that. And I remember one of the first negative reactions I heard from someone in the professional comic book world that I interact with, that one of the first negative reactions I heard was to the trailer when he was taking bullet fire.
Oh yeah.
In that scene, they're like, oh, Batman's just gonna be bulletproof now. And the thing is this: if you really are a billionaire and you plan to fight crime and you haven't developed some bulletproof armor, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, Black Panther can do it. I mean, his absorbs it and then turns it back on you.
But like anybody that wants to complain about Batman having bulletproof armor, but also is totally fine with Spider-Man having bulletproof armor.
Yeah, you guys even have armor.
Yeah, well, when he had the Stark Tech stuff, his suit was bulletproof.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it was funny that somebody said, we've talked about all this with Spider-Man, but nobody has ever said, how can a 17-year-old sew so well? I mean, who does that?
I see that, dude. I know enough cosplayers. I know some 17-year-olds, and
they can do it. Yeah.
That's when I see that response, I'm like, listen, you're missing out on a whole community that can sew. But then I also think
that's exactly right.
I was like, but then I actually turned around and thought, I was like, but I remember 17-year-old me trying to sew. So fair point.
Yeah. I couldn't do it at all.
I tried. It was ugly. It was a mess. But I thought that was great. I really did feel like when Pattinson walked into the room as Batman, just the weight of the fact that he could literally just turn and look and it'd be like a whole conversation, or that the other police would get silent. Just the intimidation level of it, I thought was wonderful.
And I liked how, because this is just year 2. For those of you who don't know, this is just year 2 of Batman. A lot of the cops still don't like him. The police officers are like, what's he doing here? He can't come here. And, basically Gordon's got his back the whole time. And Jeffrey Wright's Gordon, I thought was great.
That was great. I felt like they didn't give him enough room to.
Same thing with Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
We didn't get enough Alfred.
And neither of them got the chance to really, because I honestly thought the best moment that Gordon shined was when he was telling him to take the punch. Or I thought it was like, Casey's like, yeah, I thought that was the most Gordon I got to see out of him. But you didn't get enough Serkis, you didn't get enough of that, which I just think it's such a funny little turn of timelines that he went from Venom 2 to this. Is just like,
oh yeah,
that Serkis directed Venom 2.
Yeah.
And then
isn't that crazy?
Alfred. And it's just like, what a crazy world. Like,
and he's Gollum. I mean, we can't get any better than that.
You're the Claw in Marvel. You directed Venom. You're Gollum. Yeah. You're this. And it's just like, okay.
Oh, and Snoke, right?
Yeah. So he's just all over the place. And it's just like, what a fun career to have.
No kidding.
But I thought they did great. I did think Zoe Kravitz was just like, I never doubted her as Catwoman. I thought she did a great job with it. Turturro was
East Totoro. I mean, again, I mean, I thought he did good. It doesn't matter. Every time I see him, all I can think of is the Big Lebowski,
brother.
and it is
Is what?
The Big Lebowski.
Oh, well, see, when all I think of is "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
Oh well, there you go. That too. Yeah.
So like, I mean, I know he did. I know his Big Lebowski stuff, but I default him as because even when I was watching the HBO Watchmen series, like the Mirror guy.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Yeah, I default him to "Oh Brother" as well. So it's just like,
I guess so.
I have to intentionally dial that back.
John Turturro is in another TV show that you've got to check out if you have any way to watch. It's called Severance on Apple Plus. It's something else.
I'll check it out whenever Ted Lasso season 3 drops. I'll check it out.
There you go. Yeah, you have to get it back and then watch that. Yeah,
because I canceled it as soon as I was done writing for Ted Lasso. And
well, there you go. Perfect. You can check that out too.
But I saw that it was good. I saw a lot of people discuss that was good. But that was one of the things. I did not get the level of intimidation from Turturro that I would have wanted. But I also don't know if that's my bias to him as an actor.
No, I could see that. I think that's true. He doesn't seem nearly as menacing as Colin Farrell's Penguin.
No.
And we haven't even mentioned that. We haven't mentioned his character.
No,
that
was freaking awesome.
I mean, I know there are people like, oh, you should have cast an a heavier or a more whatever actor or whatever. I'm like, listen, man, Colin Farrell, that beats Bullseye all to pieces. I mean,
and that's one of those things that people are always talking about, the comic book glow ups, like, people that had a bad comic book role and then a good one.
Oh yeah. This is fantastic.
You can't beat this. Like, I mean, so my kids didn't know who Colin Farrell was, and they've never watched the original Daredevil, which might fix that. I don't know.
I liked it.
I did too. I mean, for that time period.
But it's based on the Kevin Smith comic book, basically, that he wrote. So yeah, I don't know.
But for that time period, it was a good movie.
Exactly.
But they like, his portrayal of that man was just freaking flawless. But my kids had never seen who Colin Farrell was, so the day after the watching it, he was doing an interview on Facebook or something of his dialect coach and everything.
But they didn't believe it, did it?
I showed them. They like, quit playing. I'm like, no,
like, dude, that's the guy.
It's like, this is him. And then the same thing. I haven't watched the Gucci movie, or the. I haven't watched that, but I was showing my daughter pictures of Jared Leto in that, and because I was like, this is Morbius, this is the Joker.
Yeah,
and they're like,
are you serious? Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Whenever a comic book character gets a good glow up, I'm happy for them.
Yeah,
because some of them, because a lot of these big actors that took early superhero opportunities, we were literally in the training wheel stages of good superhero movies.
Oh,
so
it's like Chris Evans in Fantastic Four.
Chris Evans with Ben Affleck, and we'll talk about a little the other Batman movies in a second too. But like Ben Affleck with Daredevil, and again, I thought he did a good job for that time period. Mm-hmm. And there's just these actors that did it. Michael B. Jordan, for crying out loud, like, to go from Human Torch to Killmonger.
Because that movie was horrible, and I'm a Fantastic Four fan.
I know it's I thought about that. I was just like, I wondered if you had any love for that one.
No, bless his heart.
So I thought all of those things were good.
I like the little nod that, I mean, where they take the penguin and he's interrogating the penguin, and then they leave him tied up by his feet,
and he waddles.
I was like, fantastic.
No, that, like, we were dying.
I was too. I was like, does anybody else get it? I get it. Nobody else around me thought it was funny, but I was like, that's classic. Yeah.
That was wonderful. My one, like, portrayal gripe is and that's not even a gripe. It's that this Bruce Wayne was done so differently than every other version of Bruce Wayne we've seen.
Yeah, I heard you say that on the other podcast, Kurt Cobain as
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, and I 100% agree. That would be my biggest negative, if I have a big negative. His Bruce Wayne was just so brooding. I mean, it was darker than Batman, I think, in one point.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things too. I think in a year two setting, like if we look at just how these stories have been portrayed over time,
Right. Right.
The billionaire playboy Bruce
Yeah.
wasn't always a part of Batman.
Right.
And
this is a young Batman.
Yeah.
So
we're still talking like 27, 28, I guess, by their account, somewhere in there.
Exactly.
And the fact that once he establishes that, and I did love that line that we both know that that's there's the line that was the mask, that who you are beyond that mask isn't the real you. Right. I've always loved that paradigm for Batman, but I just felt like that the billionaire playboy thing wasn't a thing yet, but I think how powerful it'll be if he decides to start weaponizing that. And then we come to the sequel of this and he's full blown billionaire playboy, like going at it that way.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I like the whole year two thing. I really do. I like the fact that they treated it sort of like they treated the Spider-Man movie when it came out. We don't need a origin story. Everybody knows the origin. There was a good comic book that's come out. I don't know if you've read it, but it was Batman the Imposter. And it's basically, it was Batman year one. And so it was really interesting how like these people are like all these motorcycles they find stashed all over Gotham. Well, it's because at that point, Batman doesn't have the network that he does. Like he's ran wires from buildings to buildings that people are finding. And that's because that's how he's been getting around, because yet he doesn't have the network. And I felt like this felt a little bit like that comic book, because he doesn't have the whole network of stuff stashed in the secret hideouts. I mean, granted, he does have the cave. But, I felt I really enjoyed that. I liked the newness of the Batman, and 100% agree that the bat symbol's the gun. I don't care what anybody says. They showed it it was such a big emphasis at so many parts of the movie that it was like, there's, the detachable batarang is important. There is an importance to this character for wearing that. And I 100% agree with you. Well, I don't know if you believe that or not, but I know
I really,
rumor.
I want it to be true. So,
I want it to be true too.
But if for anybody that's watching this that didn't know, there's a recent story that Kevin Smith wrote. He wrote that
great one.
One of the best, man. It's that the batarang in the center of his chest is molded from the deconstructed portions of the gun that killed his parents. And I mean, and just the way that he had it there, I love that portion. But I really did feel like that was the weakest part. And
what was the weakest part?
Just Bruce Wayne, sorry. That Bruce Wayne was the weakest, but at the same time, like I think people are going to have the biggest problem with it because they're expecting him to be fully developed when he wasn't fully developed.
Exactly.
And I feel like that public persona of Bruce Wayne is going to be a further developed arsenal of Batmans.
And I had this discussion with my daughter. I was like, we're coming off, the last Batman we had was Ben Affleck's Batman, who not only was he's the old Batman. I mean, he's been around forever, right? So the last Batman we had is completely different. I mean, this is a guy who's just now learning who he is, coming into what he's doing. We don't know, how far, removed he is from is he even involved in, is there a Wayne Industries? I don't know. Did they even talk about that? I don't think they mentioned anything like that.
They mentioned Wayne Tower, but not a lot. There was not a Lucius Fox presence. There was not a presence to that. I think Alfred may have mentioned board members at one point, but like maybe I can't even remember.
Gotcha. Yeah. So anyway,
out of all of this, or by the way, did you do the stuff in the post credits?
I did not. I literally Okay, this is another thing for folks listening in. I thought I was gonna have an accident
Oh, me too,
sitting
dude.
in the chair, and I'm
I
like,
was struggling.
I text my daughter, do I need to stay for this, or can you tell me what happens and I won't be disappointed? She goes, I can tell you what happens and it'll be all right. So I said, good, because I got to go to the bathroom so bad. I mean, 176 minutes, not including the previews. So no, but did you do it? Did you go to the?
I didn't do it personally. I watched someone do it online today.
There you go.
So if you go to the website of Rada Alada, or however you say it, if you go to the website and you decipher it, there's information that comes like it basically boils down to nothing's over, it's not done.
Right.
Did you really
There's
think
more
it's
to
in?
come, basically. Right.
But then what happens is it gives you a set of coordinates that break down, and each coordinate points to a specific issue of a Batman comic book where an element of the story came from.
That is cool.
So if you can pull up the graphic of all the coordinates, but all the coordinates point to specific stories that elements came from. The final one is that's in the coordinates is one that nothing has come from yet. It's the first appearance of Two-Face.
Oh.
And it's the first time we fully get Arkham Asylum in the comics. And so they're pointing to it that the next movie or whatever is going to be Arkham focused.
Yeah. But now, isn't there supposed to be a TV show that like a Gotham PD that's pretty much going to be?
So the Gotham PD is being shelved.
Oh, no. Wow. Okay.
That has been shelved, and Matt Reeves said they're moving their focus over to Arkham.
Okay.
There is going to be a story that's told,
mm-hmm.
but it's not just going to be on Gotham PD. It's going to be more all encompassing.
Okay.
And we're still going to get some of this Gotham not shelved out, fleshed out in the Batgirl movie.
Right.
Which takes place in the same universe. And because I've seen some photos of Jeffrey Wright as Gordon.
In that movie.
Yeah. Okay. Because the Batgirl is his daughter.
Awesome.
So it's Jeffrey Wright's daughter.
For realsies.
Yeah. Deal. Not the actress, but like, the character.
I understand. No. Yeah. Good.
But so they're going that route with it. But also like if you haven't seen it, the Firefly costume.
Oh yeah.
For Brendan Fraser looks like it still fits into this bubble. Like they're super realistic. Mm-hmm. He looks like a steampunk cosplayer.
Gotcha.
But I think that's going to be something that's going to be developed in it more. And honestly, like I would look forward to this, but I feel like this was there. I'd say out of all the people I interact with, I had probably 12 people that said this movie was horrible or it was a waste of time. Yeah. And one of them is a Comic-Con showrunner. One of them is somebody that works with like San Diego. One of them is like, there's some people that are pretty deep into this industry that were just like, eh. And I'm like, I thought
honestly though, Hector, I don't know. I don't want to get off too far off the rails. The whole entire, for those who collect comics, I mean, we've been inundated with Batman. Like there are some weeks when I go to get my comics and all I've got are Bat titles. And honestly, I don't know if you read the latest issue of Batman, but they setting up another thing called the Shadow War, and I'm dreading it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I have felt like the Batman comics honestly have let me down lately. And going to this movie felt like a breath of fresh air, honestly, as opposed to the comic books. Other than I'm gonna say it right now, Detective Comics is killing it for me right now. And I would get it just for the backup story for that alone. But anyway,
I feel like Tom King's was great up until let's say around up until the wedding thing was some of the best Batman. About issue 50. But gotcha. I came back into comics. So I took a break like you did. And but my break was from like 92 to 2002 or 2000.
Oh, so you got the Court of Owls. You got all that.
So
That was good stuff.
I jumped in on Hush.
Oh yeah. See, that's when I collected Hush and then stopped.
Yeah.
So that's where I quit.
So in the one that followed Hush was not great. Broken City by Azzarello was not one I enjoyed.
Now wait a minute. I've got Broken City too.
That came right after Hush.
Okay. Good art though.
Good art. But it was just like, I felt like it was just a grim story. But
right.
Like, so I've been through all of Grant Morrison's run of like, everything that he did from Damien on. I've been through Snyder's stuff. I've been through King's stuff. And that's been those have been the primary Bat storytellers in the last 20 years.
Right.
And I just, this was about as good as it got.
I agree. I felt like a detective comic, honestly. Batman is supposed to be one of the best detectives. And it felt like the opening scene felt a little bit like Sherlock. I mean, he looks around, he sees things that other people don't see. And except, Sherlock's a high functioning sociopath, and Batman, you could see a little bit of his tenderness in his character too, especially for the child.
Oh yeah.
The son, it was like, that was a focal point throughout the whole, and so yeah, I don't know. Whatever you want to say. I'm just rambling.
Well, it's just one of those things that like I literally braced myself for a day or two before this movie dropped, just for all the negativity, because like being a DC fan usually means that when a movie drops, it's my stuff is flooded with negativity.
Right. I get you.
I was just like, I don't even want to know. Like, I don't even care. And just I was grateful that like at the end of the day, like I could be really happy with this movie and think it was great. And it's just one of those things that I had that thought of like when Pattinson was cast. I was like, I know his acting range, but I was disappointed.
Oh, you think it was Sparkle Pants? Sparkle?
Well, I was disappointed that they gave us a Batman that came preloaded with cynicism, because most of the world only sees Robert Pattinson as Edward from Twilight.
Right.
So like y'all couldn't have given us somebody with a little less, collateral damage already attached to him. But
the thing is though, Hector, they've been saying that about every Batman ever cast. Every Batman. You're giving us Michael Keaton, the guy from the guy from Mr. Mom. I mean, and like, wait, Christian Bale, the Newsies guy, the guy was in, and then of course, everybody hated Ben Affleck. Oh, the guy from Geely,
Daredevil was what got him the most, backlash with that. So
yeah.
on that, let's transfer over real quick. Where if you were to rank all of your Batman movies, where does this one fall?
I can't rank them. I honestly can't. The issue for me.
Okay. Not even rank it. Just in let's drop it in like even quadrants. Would this be in like the top 25% for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say my four favorite Batman movies. I'm sorry, Adam West. I love it. The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger is fantastic. This movie, I said 4, didn't I? Did I miss one? Well, let's go with that. Oh, in the 89 okay. Batman. So, yeah, I would say it's right up there with those. What about you?
I feel like this and The Dark Knight are very close to each other. And like the thing, I feel like The Dark Knight would be a perfect movie if it weren't for the pseudo-political commentary with the wiretap stuff. Like at the time when they were doing that stuff, that was something we had just gone through as a nation. And I felt like it was a little heavy-handed at that point in time. Now, when like my 8-year-old watches it, she's like, he doesn't get that reference, but it's like then it felt kind of heavy-handed. But for me, I struggle with the I struggle with the campy or
I get you. Yeah.
the not even like if I feel like they don't get the character of who Batman's supposed to be. Like the Clooney one, like pulling like I mean that was schlock in some areas,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
just but it was intentional. But it was
Yes.
just like I don't find myself filled with joy when I watch them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I struggled those because
Holy
like
rusted metal, Batman.
yeah, that's like I really did like that line. But that's the thing, and I think that I don't know if that's the movies were bad or I've just gotten more cynical as I've grown up.
No, those movies were bad.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Actually, Hector, I went back and watched the Danny DeVito Batman Returns. It's horrible. Honestly, I'm sorry. I mean, when it came out, that's the thing. So the Batman movies, when they came out, at the time they came out, they were made for that time period. Honestly, I mean, the Adam West, the Partridge Family, Brady Bunch, Adam West, Batman. I mean, that's what it was. You know, I'll never forget. He's holding that bomb, running around. He can't get rid of the bomb, you know. And why didn't you just blow up the bar? Well, they may be drinkers, Robin, but they're still human beings, you know. So, you know, at that time, it was a great movie, and my kids still love it. Hannah actually said, maybe we should shrink all the world leaders and have them all turn to dust and then bring them back again, rehydrated with the wrong languages. Maybe we'll get some things fixed in the world. I was like, it might work. You never know. It worked for Adam West. But, and then, you know, in 89, Prince doing the music. Are you kidding me? Prince did the music for a Batman movie. I mean, I never thought I'd see that in my entire life. And then even The Dark Knight, I went back and watched The Dark Knight again just this past week. And I'm like, wow, in the light of what we can do now, this movie, if it was made today, would just be an okay movie. No, Batman Begins. It would just be an okay movie. But back then,
I mean, even then, some of the design and the technology and stuff like that, you know, for Batman Begins was rough. Like, you know, I need to be able to turn my head when I'm pulling out of the driveway, like that kind of thing.
Yes,
with the cowl.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, I'm a gamer, so I played the Batman Begins video game port where they retold the entire story as a video game.
Oh wow.
And that was up until the Arkham games, that was the last Batman game.
Wow, that's a big break.
It is. So to go from Batman Begins until Arkham, that was a big thing. And
I mean, but Batman Begins was so huge. Like, do you remember the MTV Movie Awards at the beginning? They did this whole entire thing.
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
That's freaking priceless. And then it turned out to be like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. It was like, I just finished laying the last brick. You know, he rips up the roof or whatever. I mean, so even just in pop culture, it had such a big, you know, I don't know.
So I remember in my first Batman movie experience, because like I said, I went to see all of them in theaters. I did not make it all the way through 89 because at that point in time, and I know we're different generations, I was 8.
Oh yeah.
When that came out.
Yeah.
And when
I was engaged. So there you go. Yeah.
When the Joker did the hand buzzer thing and fried the dude, it scared me.
Oh yeah.
It scared 8-year-old me.
Time and then,
yeah, it was like I could watch it now and it's like, oh, that was pretty great. But like I get it. I literally went and sat in the bathroom for the rest of the movie.
Oh man.
I didn't see it till it came on TV before Batman Returns came out.
Gotcha.
But like it was just one of those things. I've grown up with it, and that's why I say I'm grateful for every time a movie comes out, because you know we get a little bit closer and we're going to be able to look back at these things and say, okay, we saw the effort, we see, you know, forward motion, and the fact that Green Lantern found like new life on Netflix, like that people were watching that and just enjoying it, and I'm like, and
wasn't the dude who played, wasn't the villain in that? Wasn't he in the Batman? The DA.
Skarsgård. Yeah.
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 I think anyway. That was a
well, and that's the thing too. Like, they're making Green Lantern jokes in the promotion for that movie Free Guy.
oh yeah.
Because I can't ever say his name right, but Takai.
Oh, YT, yeah, which has a new series out on HBO Max.
I just started it. It's really fun.
I haven't watched it yet. It looks pretty
Our
funny,
flag means
yeah.
death. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I know exactly who you mean.
The Gentleman Pirate. Okay. Well, he was Ryan Reynolds' sidekick in Green Lantern.
For serious?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it now.
And so when they're promoting Free Guy, the two of them are sitting there. And yes, this is our first time working together. And and then like the people, like the kid from Stranger Things and one of the others were like, weren't you guys in Green Lantern together? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm moving on.
That's awesome. So I'll have to check that out. I didn't even realize that.
Because you remember he had the Eskimo sidekick from the comics.
Oh yeah.
That's him.
Oh gosh.
So that was his sidekick from, the Green Lantern movie. But it's just like, I think looking back at these, I don't think we see all the warts as badly, but then again, I think sometimes we see more warts than there actually are, because some of these things that are older, we look back and we're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as we thought. Because like for me, like I hated the prequel trilogy for Star Wars when it came out, and now my kids grew up watching it and they love it, and them loving it made me love it. And
I know. I went back. I'm so stoked for Moon Knight coming out that I've went back and I've started watching everything that Oscar Isaacs is in all over again, so I went back and watched episode, the Force Awakens, and I remember being really rough on them when they came out, and I'm like, they're not bad. I like it, So
are you does that mean you're gonna watch X-Men Apocalypse?
I've seen it. I will watch it again. Yeah, and Annihilation. He's in Annihilation, which is a great movie if you've not seen that.
I've not.
It's really good. Yeah, I know. That was a terrible movie too. Gosh, just stop with it. All
right. So what was like, did you have any other things that really stood out to you for the Batman that were just any favorite moments or anything?
I thought the way they introduced the Joker was fantastic. We all know it's the Joker. I loved Alfred working on the acrostic, breaking the code. I loved watching Alfred work on that. That was really good. I mean, we didn't get a lot of Alfred, like you said, but just how the whole entire plot that the Riddler had, how it all came in, and he literally tells Batman, "We work great together. We're a great team. Like we're on the same side." I couldn't get in there to kill him. So thanks for bringing him out into the light. The story was so thought out. The plan was so huge. I really appreciate that. I mean, it kept me on the edge. I've not been really excited and sort of like, oh my gosh, what could happen? What's going to happen in a Batman movie in a long time?
Oh no. I'll go back to one of my favorite things. Just say this: I actually really enjoyed Ben Affleck as Batman.
I did too,
and it's just one of those things. I know that if he would have had a different script to work with, I think he would have been really solid. I'm sad that one of his Batman movies was Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that
the first one.
That was but yeah. I've watched it 30 times, so
yeah.
I mean, what can I say?
I think he did a really good job. Again, he wasn't a detective, but as far as like a dark, gritty, I feel like he did a good job, and I was not disappointed with him. I feel like maybe outside of Clooney, I don't know anybody that I've ever been just like, why? Like, I get it, but I feel like
even Val Kilmer.
I thought Val Kilmer was a good Batman and a terrible Bruce Wayne.
There you go.
Because I honestly feel like Val Kilmer's Bruce had less personality than Pattinson's.
Absolutely, 100%. He was Iceman. That was it.
That was it. He was cool and calm and cold, but there was no personality. I thought that Christian Bale probably gave us the best Bruce.
I'll agree with that. 100% agree with that.
And so I think they've done a good mix, and it's just really hard to find somebody who does a good balance of both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Ben did a great balance, but he wasn't the best of anything. Like,
I'll say it again: watch the director's cut.
Oh yeah, Snyder's cut.
Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice. Yeah,
the director's cut.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The movie is so much better.
Anyway. Well, it puts so many other story pieces in there too.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: one of my favorite parts out of all of the Batman, because we spend most of the story watching him be a ground level hero, like literally on the ground. That when he gets up to the roof to escape from the police station, or wherever that he was escaping from.
Yeah.
And he runs to the edge and he goes, oh,
yes.
That filled me with joy.
I know. It was like, oh, wait, what am I going to do here?
Because like, there's not been a Batman iteration in my memory where he walked up to an edge and was nervous.
Yeah, exactly. He's always been Daredevil, the man with no fear.
And this was the fact that he was actually taken aback.
Yeah.
And like was like, and then he had to like steel himself.
Okay. And then he zipped that sucker up and he had all those.
And then he got just utterly wrecked doing it.
I know at the end.
Which that reminded me of the thing from Batman Begins of like after the Scarecrow fight and he ended up like falling out the window. But like, that to me, humor, but also, okay.
No, I mean, yeah, it's the right amount.
This is somebody who has decided who he's going to be, but he hasn't nailed it yet.
Exactly. You get to see it's a humanity side. You get to see his humanity, honestly.
And so that literally was one of my favorite parts of the entire thing, was watching him like at the edge of it.
Well, hey, I got a question for you before we wrap this up. What is your favorite Batman story? That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. Like it's easy for me to default and say Hush.
I got you.
One that like, in just on the biased Jesus level, like I really like Batman the Chalice. I don't know if you ever read that one.
No, I don't. I haven't.
Forgive the super deep pun on this, but it's a grail for you. You need to pick it up.
I got you.
But the book is literally Batman gets his hands on the Holy Grail.
Oh, nice.
And
he didn't have to use the holy hand grenade.
Yeah. He gets his hands on the he threw a thing that this cup was passed down to be guarded by the Waynes.
Oh, I got you. The Chalice.
Yeah.
All right. I'll check it out.
I want to say it's Chuck Dixon. I could be wrong. But it's he gets his hands on the Holy Grail, and everybody and their mama is coming after it.
Gotcha.
So the League of Assassins is coming, Penguin and every gangster in Gotham is coming, all these people, and it's like Batman got shot somewhere in the possession of it, and he pours some water into it and then pours it and it heals his bullet wound.
Oh, thank you, Sean Connery.
Yeah, and exactly. And they're like, and he's just doing it. And so Oracle, the entire time, this is in the Oracle era, she's like, hogwash, shenanigans, tomfoolery. Gotcha. And so she does this carbon dating, molecular examining of it. And when she does it, she finds that the gospel is literally written into the genetic code of it.
Oh, wow.
So there's this moment where Oracle is like sitting dumbfounded, like, and it's talking about Jesus, like on the molecular level.
Yeah.
And she's just like taken back from it. And like there's just all these like biblical conversations that take place. And then like there comes a moment where Batman's just like, I can't do this. And he just calls Superman to come and hide it.
Nice. That's so
he's
funny.
like, if I try and hold on to this, I'm gonna get killed, and Gotham's gonna get torn apart for this thing. So he just has Superman come fly it away and hide it. That's one of my favorites. Just because it's obscure, but it's also fun, and you get a little Jesus in it, which is fun for me.
Yeah.
But I think one of my go-tos is Hush pretty steadily. I'm looking at my hardback shelf over here. Yeah, I mean, I stand by that pretty easily. What are you? I've got something big that I haven't even opened.
That's always fun when you find something big that you haven't opened.
Yeah, I really do. I think Hush is for me one of my, because I feel like in comic terms, I feel like that's one of the peak moments for this is about as good as it gets on those lines. But also some of the early Tom King Batman stuff I thought was really great too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What about you?
That's a hard one. Yeah. Growing up, my favorite was, Death in the Family.
Yeah.
Going back and rereading it, not so much.
No.
But it's got early Mike Mignola covers. And I remember getting the book and going to my grandma, because she was the one who bought my comic books for me at the time. And I was like, I can vote whether we can kill this Robin or not. Can I make this phone call? And she's like, no, it's like 99 cents. You're not calling a 1-900 number for 99 cents to vote whether to kill or not kill a comic book character. And I was like, oh,
it's a kind of a creepy thing in retrospect.
I know. Well, I think the score was like 3,000 to 2,000. I mean, it wasn't like a huge number of people.
No, it was pretty close.
Yeah. And so that, but other than that, The Dark Knight Returns, I collected those as they came out, and just the whole entire thing with Batman faking his own death, and the heart started beating at the last, and Clark, Superman hears it. I love that part. My favorite standalone book is a World's Finest. So it's a Superman Batman, and we all know Superman doesn't do well with the magic. And so it's a vampire book, but what happens is they think they have killed Batman. He like drowns in quicksand. They kill him. They don't kill him. And at the end, the vampire's getting ready to Superman and stake through the heart, and it's Batman all covered in sand and everything. And he's like, you don't drown in quicksand if you don't lose your nerve, and you swim like it's water. You just have to do it very slowly, or something like that. I just love that book, Batman with a stake killing that would be mine. I'd have to go with the Frank Miller 4-issue. I just love that, collecting those. And, pretty much that the Killing Joke is great. But it's creepy, but
it's creepy. It's uncomfortable, and
it is uncomfortable.
And I mean, I really do love a lot of the stuff that came out like that 2003-ish era, when it was Red Hood was starting and Hush was concluding and stuff. I thought that was a great era. I don't remember what issue it is, but something I've got a Mignola Batman autographed.
Oh, wow.
That I met him in person, and he signed it for me. And
that's pretty neat. Yeah.
I mean,
his covers were gorgeous. The covers.
His covers are gorgeous. I'm looking at my Batman shelf too, see if there's anything else that really. There's been just so much.
The White
Knight's been good too.
Yeah, it's been fun. The whole entire run on that. My new favorite, this recent come out storyline was the Batman Red Hood storyline that was in Urban Legends, Batman Urban Legends, first 7 issues or 6 issues of that. I think it was Zdarsky wrote that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Like Loved issue that. 4 of that was like, I think one of the best ones.
Was that the one with the riddles?
I think so.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. That's been my...
I'll say Kingdom Come 2 is also a really great Batman story.
Oh, Kingdom Come 2. Or also?
Also.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, those are great. That is a good Batman story. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
I found they had 4 issues of those at a half price books. And they were just bound for like $15 or whatever, $10, something like that. So I just got them. They were like taped together, you know. Get them home, open them up. They're all autographed by Alex Ross and Busiak. Or no, Mark Waid. Did Mark Waid write that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All of them autographed. And I was like, this can't be real. You know, and I've got a friend who's like a huge Alex Ross fan, and he's got bukus of stuff. And I'm like, Ed, will you take a look? He goes, man, where'd you get that? I'm like, is this legit? He goes, yeah, that's legit. So yeah, that was like a great find. But those are great books too. Yeah, Kingdom Come.
So just the last question I'll ask you this is where would you want to see Batman move forward in at this stage in the game, be it in cinema and in print?
I'm tired in print. Let me go with print straight up, because I'm tired of these humongous crossovers that tell convoluted stories with 7 million characters. And it seems like it's a story you could tell in like 3 issues. I'm tired of that. The whole, what was it? The Tinian's run on Fear State. Now, I mean, the best thing that for me that's come out of Fear State is the fact that the Scarecrow is now in Arkham Tower and he's got Nightwing. So, but that's in the Detective Comics. But I don't know. I mean, I'd like it to, I don't know. As far as Batman goes, I really like this detective aspect of this. I don't know how they can go forward. The Riddler really lends itself to be a detective story. So as far as it goes in the movies, I don't know. I think I don't know if you can go straight into the Joker. I mean, it feels like that's what they're thinking, but they could just tease that a little bit more. But I don't want them to have 18 villains. We don't need 1,000 villains in it. Although Spider-Man did pretty good with all the villains that they brought in, but those were characters that were already established and we already had connection with all of them. So I do think we need, I don't know. Don't bring Roz. We don't need Roz. So I would definitely say, you know, I don't know, what villain would you see in the next one?
So, I would like to see Hush done well at some point in time.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think on a detective level, it could work really well. But
it could.
I don't know if you noticed that the reporter that got silenced.
Oh yeah, that was Elliot. Was that
the reporter that got silenced was Elliot, and they mentioned something to the effect that it left him alone with a widow and a child.
Yes.
And
so
what if that came because that got caused by the Waynes?
Yeah.
And
well, indirectly
that it indirectly got caused by the Waynes, or at least that would be something easily enough believed by a child, and that he would be it. They could tie that back into the Hush story that came later. It's just that he was bitter that he still had a mom and didn't lose both his parents, where he could be rich and have an inheritance.
Right.
And if that played into it somehow, I don't know. But like,
and you could get that little convo with the Joker and Arkham, or with the Riddler and Arkham.
Well, and that too, I think that was one of my biggest disappointments, was when they made that animated Hush movie and just did what they did with that.
I didn't watch it.
Please don't.
Okay.
Because one of the things is they almost make 3/4 of the movie shot for shot Hush, like the book,
and then they change something.
They change something big, and it's gross and it's lame. But it also really plays into this movie. So
you'd like to see Hush. What about in print? What would you like to see them do?
I'd like to see them either. I feel like we need some distance from Catwoman at this point.
Yeah, she's everywhere.
She's everywhere, and then to play the wedding Rick role was,
and And I don't know that the Batman Catwoman comic would it will ever be finished. Seems like it's taking forever.
It does. And I would honestly like to see. I think what would make me happiest in comics is actually seeing Bruce have healthy relationships with his kids and intentionally training them to do better.
Gotcha.
Like
instead of having the Ghost Maker train the Clown Hunter. So that's what he's got going on right now.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that one of my favorite moments, and it was in Tom King's stuff as he was kind of wrapping up, was when he called them all onto the roof together.
Yes.
I'm like, you have a whole network of people that you could be training to do so much good. And like, instead of just putting out fires. And I think that was it Robin or Nightwing where they had the group text message, the family group text message. Did you read that issue where they're texting back and forth? Yeah. I think it might've been Robin. Yeah.
I can't remember, but I was like, yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but we have a family text message thread. I'm sure
we're just getting there because
my kids are,
my oldest daughter just got a smartphone. Gotcha. And my middle daughter just inherited her older sister's flip phone.
Gotcha.
So,
so I don't know. As far as Batman goes, my favorite Batman title right now is, of course, Nightwing and the Joker comic book, which isn't even a Joker comic book.
No, it's a Gordon comic book.
It's a Gordon comic, which is fantastic. But yeah, Nightwing is just amazing.
And I would also like to stop having Nightwing crossovers so that we can just have a Nightwing story.
Oh yeah, because now it's Nightwing and Kal-El.
Yeah.
Although the whole thing with him, I don't know. This has gone off the rails a little bit, but where they go to save a young a young Superboy in the cave. Did you read that?
That was great.
And he's like, that was great.
Well, now what does lend itself is that the same guy is writing both of those books.
I know, Tom Taylor, and we get new Deceased. So I'm for it, man. I love Tom Taylor. Dark Knights of Steel or whatever, and
that's really good too. That's surprising.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Well, Todd, I hope this got some of your Batman discussion.
I did. I've been like dying to talk about this. I was like, can we talk about Batman? And somebody was just don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah, I saw that.
What everybody said. I was like, nice. That was a good one.
And I'm actually planning to go watch Batman like tonight again. And
oh man. Well, when we take a catheter or some Depends.
Some Imodium, something. Just it's a lot. I mean, it's just like, I dealt with it for Endgame, but like, yeah, this is a lot. Yeah. But it's good.
It was worth it.
And I'm looking forward to it being on an HBO in like a month. So that's nice.
Oh yeah. Hey, I think Dune comes back this week. So
ooh, okay, sweet.
Yeah. I get to get my Oscar Isaacs fill again. Yeah. Well, thank you, Hector, for having me. I'm so glad we got to talk about Batman. I know you love you some Batman. And
I do. It's just one of those things I try and, not cast my pearls before swine, so to speak. So just
and I mean, I know it's faith and fandom. There's so many spiritual. That's in a whole nother thing.
Well, that's one of those things. Like I talked to my editor. I called my editor last week on like Wednesday. I was like, "Are you done with the book? Like, are you done?" He's like, "I've not really started." And I'm like,
"Good."
And I'm like, because I wanted you to be done, so I didn't feel compelled to write a Batman chapter. And
gotcha.
So I didn't, but we'll see how that goes because I'd still marinating, and I've only watched it once. But that last speech that Batman made about hope.
Yeah.
At the end of that, like I started taking notes, and then he was talking too fast for me to take notes.
That's so funny because I literally made a message. I need to come back and watch this with a notebook and a pen. I literally want to do that.
Most of my second viewings involve notebooks and pens. And I'll sit there and do it. Or the only time I've asked anybody to cheat for me was I've got a friend who's really into Ghostbusters, and I knew he was going to watch the new Ghostbusters a few times. I was like, there's a speech between point A and point B at this point. Write that down for me.
Yeah, there you go. No kidding. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, this is definitely one that you need to do that with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much. By the way, if y'all don't know Todd, this is Todd Turner with Mosaic Fan Art. You can see his Batman fan art behind him.
This piece sold.
This piece sold? Congratulations.
Yeah, this is just a poster. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I didn't think it was recent. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what show are you going to be at next?
Lexington Comic-Con, which comes like the 24th through the 27th or whatever. I'm going to be doing a nerd church. I think it's at like 10 in the morning on Sunday, right before the con opens. So yeah, we're going to do Batman getting adopted into the family.
Yeah. And you can also check out Todd on his podcast with his daughter.
Yeah, Sis and Big Pops Culture.
Yeah,
it's a family friendly nerd podcast.
Family friendly nerd podcast. I just got a fancy pen. So
awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man.
Thank you. But yeah, you could check out Todd's stuff. His artwork is always fantastic, and he's one of the most passionate people in terms of comics in life I know in general. So I'm grateful for you, man.
Thank you.
But thank y'all for listening, watching, if you're watching this. And if you've got commentary on the Batman other than to say that it was trash or that you hated the squirrel suit, feel free to hit us up. And
I love the squirrel suit.
That the same person that said it was trash, the following comment was, the squirrel suit was so stupid. That was like,
I thought it was fantastic. I was like, that's what you need.
It makes more sense than just flapping around on a cape, because that's not logical.
Or having like magical stuff that gets real hard when you do electric current through it.
Well, I mean, they set that up pretty well, but it's like,
They did. You're right.
But the squirrel suit made a lot more sense. I mean, because it's, a bat suit.
There you go. El Rata. Whatever. Lata. Yeah. All right.
I'm the worst Hispanic person in the world. I can never speak Spanish well. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. Thank y'all so much. And I hope you enjoyed this and have a great day.